So this is a question of like, how do I address hearsay when it isn't said to me directly? So one moment will just remind everybody, and this is why telling people unkind things that other people have said is not a kindness, right? This is actually the spreading of suffering in ways that can feel very disempowering. If somebody is telling you something about somebody, encourage them to tell that person directly or figure out what their own work is around that. So that's just one little aside. I would not have a problem personally, and maybe each of you can decide for yourselves whether this will work for you or not. I'm not saying this is the best strategy for all people, but I personally would still take that information back to the person, and I would say, it's come to my attention that you might be believing or thinking or saying blah, 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 blah. And before I run off with that as true, I wanted to loop back to you and find out if it is true. And if it is, wondering if we could have a deeper conversation about that. And it sounds like this. Got it. So you are convinced that when I XYZ, that I did it intentionally, consciously, and with a desire to increase suffering, and that I wanted to be mean, and that I, whatever it is that this person is saying, I would pick it up and let them hear those words coming out of your mouth first, right? So the first thing is to really deeply receive it. And when we talk about receiving somebody else in a communication, we talk about saying back to them what they said. Saying, I understand, I hear you, is often not powerful enough. So we say it back. You think that I was mean-spirited. You think that I was being intentional. You think that my desire was really to cause harm and that I wanted to increase your suffering or this person's suffering or whatever it was. Am I getting that right? And then when they say yes or no or you're going to get to the place where they say, yeah, that's exactly right. Then I would say, and then I can imagine if I was seeing somebody like that, I would be feeling afraid and angry, and I would want to distance myself from them, and I would not trust them at all. And I would be feeling very self-protective around a person like that. Is that how you're feeling about me? So I would deepen it to impact, even if they're not telling me that. And if they were to say yes, then I would say, it's helpful for me to know that that's where you and I are at. And I know for myself that my intentions were pure, that I did not want to cause suffering, that I was not trying to be mean-spirited, that those things are absolutely not true in my heart. And I can imagine that if you're convinced that that is true about me, why you might be wanting to distance yourself, say these things, etc., etc. It makes sense to me where you are at, given what you're believing.